public to bear with us. We've had some technical difficulties this week with IT and even up to 5 minutes ago. So technical difficulties. So please bear with us.
Good. Okay, welcome. I will call to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. And number 2, the conflict of interest. Read that out last week, so we can move on to 3.1. Public input. The meeting is open to statements from no more than 5 members of the public of no more than 2 minutes in length. Okay, seeing none. Is there any late additions or deletions?
Through the mayor, yes, on the cross connection control bylaw resolutions, to remove the first resolution. My apologies, we did introduction and first reading at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, will somebody please move that the December 10th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be adopted? Councilor Kwan, Councilor Weeds, all in favor? Carried. Public and statutory hearings, none. Okay, delegations, we have 3. 6.1, Guy Vernon Woods. Hello.
Hi there.
You can just step up to the lectern and how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you, Laurie. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Council, thank you so much for funding the Apricot Fest this year. Sorry it's taken me so many months to come here, but just work has prevailed. My big question is, what does council feel on should we make the event, I say, larger or keep it local? Should we be selling tickets for the event or should we keep it, I say, free? The event at the moment, even though you put 10 grand in to it, is basically still running on a huge amount of basically volunteer time. And that volunteer time is probably spent over 6 months. We've tried to bring in artists with the amount of money that you gave us that would attract actually more people. Most of the artists are local, but we have tried to bring more people in to attract other businesses to the event, but we are struggling a bit at the moment. So I'm just wondering if there's more available in funds for the event, and then maybe I could look to a private partnership or a non-profit partnership to partner up with us for the event. That's if you want to expand the day and the Apricot Festival.
Okay, so just a little bit of history. Yes, the district has a cost center where we allocate so much money to community events, and it's basically all gone to, it's a very small amount, to the Apricot Fest. And we just really want to say thank you for taking this on, because we know how much work it is, and the organization and everything that you're doing to bring it all together, and all the volunteers. It really is great for Lillooet. We've always had it, and it's I don't think anybody else wants to take this on. So what you're looking for is kind of some guidance around what we can allocate for funding altogether in order for you to expand if we wanted to expand it, or for paid staff, or
Yeah.
So right now the $10,000, what does that cover?
That basically pays for the artists, most of whom are local. We've tried to bring in some acts from Vancouver with that 10 grand. People have put those artists up in their houses to save on hotel costs. The stage as Bain and I know that we have, is falling apart. Joe offered the stage from, that is Sycamoose, but there is a price on that. And that price is the amount that you would pay for a big name act. So I prefer to spend time repairing the stage that we have, or if the rec centre could get a better stage. And so if we make the event larger with better acts, it's going to attract tourists, and it may attract a better private partnership with that process. And because it's something that we can showcase back in Lillooet, and that's why I'm here, you know, is to expand it and showcase what Lillooet has and bring in some tourists and bring in some money.
And what happens with the sound equipment and everything? Who's
Sound equipment, so Lowen and McQuaid, we've worked with those guys for years. They give me a preferential rate for the event. Then we have a volunteer that goes and actually picks it up, because there's no one willing here to pick it up for us. And then we use some of the sound equipment here from other musicians in town. Yeah, so there's a lot of donated time and volunteer time how to make it happen.
Do you have an idea of how much money it would cost to run this to the degree that?
I do. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur all my life, so I know handouts, you know, aren't always available.
Right.
But I mean, if we could definitely, and I don't want you to cringe, but if you could double up on the amount of, let's say, money, that would really help with bringing in a larger act or a few larger acts to attract more people to the event. And even if you were able to double up on that amount, I'd still consider charging entering for the event, because that funding could help with a future Lillooet Festival, and maybe go towards funding music and arts in our local high school or elementary school. So there's lots of thoughts happening.
Councillor Fawnin, did you have a question?
No, it's okay for now.
Okay.
Through the mayor, so council will be starting budget discussions here
Okay.
very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So what I can do is put this in as a budget request for the 2025 budget,
Okay.
and council can consider it at that time.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Oh,
Going forward, are you going to be sort of using the same template as you did for the last Apricot Fest with the open beer garden for the whole area? Because there were lots of problems with that, and I know lots of people did not attend because they were being turned away at the gate because they could not bring in their own food or drinks or anything.
and I agree with you. I was not totally understanding of that process at the time. I used to be part of the festival in North Vancouver, and that has changed over the years. And we were there this year, and the way they work it is the whole event is now open, but for the beer area, or where you purchase your alcohol, you have to line up in a secure area, and then you purchase your alcohol, and then you can sit with everybody else. That's my ideal situation. The RCMP may have said something that's different, but it works well in actually North Vancouver.
Yeah, I just know at the last one, there were families. who
I know, and I was shocked.
And everything, and the kids, and they all were turned away.
Yeah, and I mean, our liquor laws in Canada are different to Europe. And so in an ideal situation, actually how I grew up, you'd be there with grandma and grandpa or an uncle and auntie and they'd be drinking and you'd be having pop. And there's no problems.
Yeah, in Canada's a little behind.
Yeah, so, I know things are changing, but we'll make sure that it's easier next time. Yeah.
Any other questions? Councilman Aaron.
So is what's going on is you want to have a beer garden with the whole lawn sort of thing, like you're talking about?
Brandy, that's how it works in North
Here, yeah,
Vancouver.
or North Vancouver.
Yeah, yeah.
And then last year, I didn't make it. Last year, I'm just trying to understand. And then last year, there was people that were getting turned away. Why?
They weren't turned away. They were asked to empty out all their bottles because there was a thought that they were secretly bringing in alcohol. So all liquids had to be poured out. And I didn't realise that this was happening. So for next year, it'll change.
They were also not allowing people to bring food in as well.
Okay, I didn't ever know that either. So, yeah. Yeah. If I'd been at the gate, it would have been a bit different. Yeah. So
It's got to be family oriented.
I totally agree,
100%.
Randy. Totally agree. Yeah.
So
Totally
I don't like people getting,
Yeah. Yeah.
that come down with a picnic and they're gonna take their food away.
I mean, ideally, Randy, like festivals, I was, part of in Acid Britain, people would bring picnics, tables, chairs, a good family event. And that's what I'm after here.
Okay,
We've had incidences in the past where people who were drinking alcohol were caged in, and it was just a recipe for a disaster. And so we just hope to change that and to make it a more family-friendly
and the
process.
BC laws will allow that? Kids in there and whatnot?
Yeah, North Vancouver has changed it for the shipyards events, and it's working. I think primarily it comes down to the local RCMP. Last year, if I'm correct, Bain, I don't think we had an incident, or this year. So that's a good few acid bonus points with the local RCMP.
Because, yeah.
But
I'm for it as long as it's very family oriented, 100%.
And I totally agree, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was just bringing it up because it was first year they've done it that way last year, and I thought it was an excellent idea. It was just huge teething problems there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it needs to be ironed out, improved, and every year. But we want this to attract not only local people, but outside people as a family event showcasing Vassy Lillooet.
Through the mayor, I'm just wondering, when you say larger, do you mean to make the whole festival larger, or are you saying like entertainment wise?
Sort of a bit of both. It would be nice to make it a bit larger so that local businesses can earn out of it, because it would be great to make a profit out of it for local businesses. But keeping in mind what Brandy said, also keeping it a family event that we want, especially locals, to be excited to go to.
I think it would be great if it took in the whole area type of thing.
Yeah.
I really do. I know that you're not this year's, the year before. If you left to go to the washroom, you'd have to stand in line to get back in.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and more than likely wouldn't. So,
Yeah, and I know the year before, a friend of mine who's a filmmaker, and he came up to help, and he said, "Why aren't we filming everything that's going on here in Lillooet?" So he went about and was filming everything from First Nations down to the cork makers, promoting Lillooet as much as possible.
great.
Um,
Just don't come asking us to I pay for Taylor Swift.
Then ask me to look like.
One more question through the mayor. As Mrs. LaRue said, we do have budgeting coming up here
Yes.
in the near future. Would it be asking too much for you to just send us like a small budget as to what you would like to see? Then it gives council more of
Of course.
a written.
Yes. Yeah. No. And that's okay. I would do that. That's it for you.
It would help with having just a more visual, and then we can sort of crunch.
Yeah, yeah.
Things from there.
Yeah. No. Totally understand. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for everything
Thank you,
that you do. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next delegation, we have Dawson Road Maintenance. Winter Program Road. Maintenance.
You
What does that look
betcha. Mayor, council, thank you for seeing me today. Yeah, just a quick information session, just where we are, where we're going here. So we have more staff than last year, which is fantastic. We relied on Ashcroft last year to kind of support us on that 99 North section. So we're not fully staffed, but we're only 4 people short this year. So I'm hoping to grab a couple more. Our equipment's up and running. We've been out brining. I'm sure everybody's seen. That brine just works beautifully here. I absolutely love it. It really takes away that second person that you need out there, right? So it'll take care of a couple centimeters of snow before we actually have to action it. So all our sand piles are stocked up. Goldbridge Yard is hard to get people out there too, but we do have our 6 people out there that are ready and willing to go at any time. So I'm sure everybody knows about the Mission Mountain upgrades that we've been doing. Huge upgrades over there. It is incredible. I went over there last week and it's just incredible what has happened over there. It's gone from a little goat trail to it's 2 lanes wide almost the entire way now. So it's fantastic. So yeah, but other than that, just an update for everybody. Is there any questions for me?
Well, I've heard Mission Mountain has done a lot of work and people are ecstatic about it. And yeah, just people driving over there that haven't been able to drive in the past.
Yep.
And yeah, it's been really good.
It is incredible.
Can you tell me, when you put the brine on, does it have to be a certain temperature? Is it, or can you just put it on, or is there something about 9 degrees or 7?
Yeah, so well, there's a bare and black spec, which is -9. So if it's -9 or warmer, for 24 hours, we have 24 hours to get everything bared off. But when we're putting out brine, typically it's about -6. We don't want to put it out any colder than that. But -6, if you put it on a bare and dry road and let it dry and sit on the road, it'll take care of that frost that you see every morning, right? So it works really well. But down here is actually here in Ashcroft is where we see our most success with it, for sure. Up north, the 100 Mile Clinton area. I mean, it goes down fine, but it'll only take care of about 1 centimeter of snow before it starts to get overwhelmed, just due to the cold temperatures. So down here.
Is there any problems with elevations? Because I mean, some elevations it's, -4 and other ones it's -7 and then you get.
Yeah, I mean, when we put it out, we'll put it out consistently. We don't like to put it out spotty. So those higher elevation sections, we'll just have to watch them a little closer than those lower elevation spots for sure, because it will get overwhelmed a little quicker than the valley bottoms for sure.
Just kind of not off the subject, but off the winter program. What are you gonna do with Main Street? Just a little bug in your ear, leave it at that.
Working with ministry on that one. I know they really want to get a paving project here. It is really, really difficult to get paving down in this area. It's very expensive to truck it from Kamloops. So we have to partner with ministry when ministry comes in and does a project. And then we can kind of piggyback off that and get some work done too. But I know it is high priority for ministry to get that Main Street done for sure.
Like driving down Road 40 there for a while.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I know they're talking about it. So yeah, it's just aggregate source finding, and aggregate source is the biggest problem, right? So Chenal Pit's kind of depleted right now. So it's, you got to find a private source somewhere, right? So probably if they set up paving out here, it would probably be out of Canoe Pit if we were to pave out here. So yeah, a little bit of trucking, but a lot closer than Kamloops. So yeah.
Through the mayor, just because it's that time of year and it always seems to come up for some sort of conversation. Why do the rumble strips stop out of town on either side? Like when you're coming from Cache Creek into Pavilion, you've got the strips on the side. Why do they suddenly stop and we have none in Lillooet, especially like some of those corners? Do you?
I don't have an answer for that, but I can definitely talk to the ministry about that.
Lots of people ask about that.
Mhm.
It's just like you're coming into Lillooet and then suddenly there's no rumble strips. And I know years and years ago, I was driving in front of the storm. And the only way I
They do
knew where the road was I found
Absolutely.
those rumble strips and then we got close to Lillooet and it's like,
I'm just curious if they were separate paving projects possibly that they just didn't get the rumble strips installed, but I'll definitely talk to the ministry about that. I will, I'll leave a couple cards here and maybe if you want to email me with that question, I can definitely get an answer for you.
that would be awesome.
Okay. Excellent.
Councillor Wood.
Through the mayor. So who decides where the snow gets plowed? Like that it's off to the side or down the middle of the section?
More context?
Well, just when you're plowing the streets or like Main Street, Highway 99, all of those, going up to 100 Mile, the snow is kind of in the middle of the road. Here it's off to the side and then it's up to our public works to kind of make pathways for people going to the post office or here.
So we're talking sidewalks and then that sort of thing? Yeah, so it's municipality based. We actually work directly with the 100 Mile municipality. So they actually clear the sidewalk. So we kind of try to keep it along the edge of the sidewalk. A little bit spills over here and then, but if plow drivers are not taking it from the center of the road, that is a training issue for sure. And if you're seeing that, please let us know. Because we train our folks to start in the middle of the road and work their way up. If they don't do that, we're coming back and we're doing it all over again.
Well, I almost got wiped out last year going up to 100 Mile to a meeting because snow was down the middle of the road and the guy didn't pick his blade up and it just all over me. And it was like, I'm totally blinded out here.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I'm just kind of curious on that, like who decides what goes where?
Well, it's, like I said, we train our operators to take it from the middle of the road. That's super slab up north there between 70 Mile and 100 Mile. Pretty common for our operators to leave that median. We train them to take that median out. So if it's not being taken out, please let us know. Our supervisors see it all the time and correct it all the time. But if you're seeing it, definitely please let us know.
Saturday it was taken out.
Up north there? Okay, good to know.
Come down from Dawson.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That was a pretty hairy weekend with all that freezing rain up there.
They told me.
Boy, oh boy. Whoa.
Through the mayor again, second question. I think I spoke to you when you first started or whatever, if you would be interested in our rural roads committee. Because it would be nice to have the updates on paving and whatnot when we.
Absolutely.
Meetings.
Yeah, like I said, I'll leave some cards here. If you want to send me an invite, I will gladly hop into a rural road meeting for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
As Ministry of Transport and whatnot, so I think they're just rearranging it right now
Oh, yeah.
because of Jackie Taggart, she used to, her right-hand person.
Yeah. I hear you. But yeah, absolutely. I would be more than happy to join that for sure. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you can just leave your cards that way.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
There you go. Thank you so much, everybody.
Okay, next we got BC Hydro, update on the Bridge River capital projects.
It'll just take a minute to get them set up here.
Thank you. Oh,
Joni,
sorry, go
I was
ahead,
going to
Chris.
share my screen, but I can't. So I suspect that's what you're doing, but okay, awesome. Thank you.
There you are. That should work now.
It does. Perfect. I'll just get that going. Give me 1 second here. There we are. All right. Dana, you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you so much for having us and allowing us to speak this evening. My name is Dana Isber, and I'm the Stakeholder Engagement Advisor with BC Hydro for the Sea to Sky region. And with me tonight is Chris Hatton, Project Manager for Dam Safety and Programs, and we'll be providing an overview of the BC Hydro capital project initiatives in the Lillooet area.
Perfect. Thanks, Dana. I'll take it over from here. So there's a few familiar faces, and I've had the pleasure of having a couple of meetings with folks. I've worked in the region for a number of years with BC Hydro. I've only got about 5 minutes, so I'm going to move pretty quick here. But please, if you need me to go back to any slides at the end, I'm happy to revisit and answer questions. So we'll do a quick recap on the Bridge River system for BC Hydro. We'll talk about current projects and timelines of what's kind of coming up for us and what we've been up to in the last few months. We'll give you an update on the access and accommodation work, which I've been working on with our team. And then we'll talk a little bit about worker accommodation or worker forecasting in the region, particularly in Lillooet. We'll touch on First Nations consultation, and then Dana will give a bit of a quick recap on our communications and sort of the next steps on there if there's anything from anyone. So I will dive right in. I suspect folks in this meeting are pretty familiar, but I will do a quick recap of BC Hydro when we talk about the Bridge River system. It consists of 3 reservoirs, 4.5 facilities, because Bridge River is 2. So our uppermost reservoir is Doughton, LaJoy Dam in Goldbridge, Carpenter Reservoir, which is inundated use of the diversion dam called the Terzaghi facility. At Bridge River, we have 2 facilities, Bridge River 1 and 2. Then we have our Seton Lake Reservoir, which is impounded by the Seton Dam, Canal, and Powerhouse, which we're going to speak about mostly today. So speaking of the Seton facility, so again, I'm certain you folks are familiar with this. We've got our dam up at the top of the photo here, our canal, our headworks, our penstock, and our generating station. I think this has been discussed with you previously. We are looking at a bypass project. The bypass project is really there to increase BC Hydro's ability to convey water around this critical asset. So as you kind of can imagine, in the system, the Seton facility is the last one. And so all the water that goes through the upper facilities has to go through Seton as well. So we want to keep that water flowing. We want to do it in an environmentally responsible way and a safe and reliable way. So the idea that our team is working through is to pull water off of the canal and just go right around the facility while we do any major upgrades that are required for this facility. It's getting quite old, and the generator is ready for some major works. So I kind of touched on this briefly, the importance of the Seton facility. It is that clinch point. The Bridge River system is important to BC Hydro for energy reliability and a whole bunch of geeky engineering utility talk that I won't bore you folks with. But it is a very important system to us, and Seton is a very important asset in that system to support both water management as well as energy generation. So you may have over the summer here and into the fall noticed a little bit of work happening in and around the Seton facility. There has been some investigations around the bypass project, essentially doing a bit of drilling and doing some investigations just to check on the design plan. It's all part of kind of the design and the project development. At this point, we don't expect to have any more kind of major investigations. However, there's a little bit of an asterisk on that because as you go through projects in general, things can come up, contractors can have ideas, and we want to check on certain things to refine how we want to go through our design process and executing those details. So right now we don't have a plan for it, but doesn't say that we may not require a little bit more in the future. You will still expect to see some folks walking around. Our engineering teams, stakeholders, First Nations tours will be looking at the site over the next number of years for various reasons. Timeline-wise, so that puts us kind of right here. So we just finished up our preliminary design. At BC Hydro, we use kind of unique words. Preliminary design means we're pretty much there. You get to kind of final issue for construction design, which is the next step, but we've got a pretty good idea what we're looking to do here. Into later next year, we'll go to a BCUC submission for the project. It's a large project and requires BCUC approval. And then into summer, we'll start some early construction works and main construction starting in 2027. And the plan currently is to have that completed by summer of 2029, which doesn't feel like that far away. Or sorry, feels like a long way away, but from the project scale, that's a pretty close time frame when we're doing a large project like this. Okay, I'm going to shift gears here and talk a little bit about access and accommodation. Some of you folks may be familiar. We did release in September the Lillooet and Bridge River study. There's a second study that is planned to be released at the end of January, early February, around LaJoy and Goldbridge. But we did release the Bridge River and Lillooet access and accommodation study. That one really covers how we want to move workers around the region, how we're going to house them. We know we're expecting a lot, and we know that's expected to be an impact on the local communities, and also assessing that and helping us make our decisions around what BC Hydro wants to do next. And we've taken that and we are working towards developing a strategy to meet those needs and minimize negative impacts on local communities such as yourselves, as well as maximizing benefits. If we can have benefits to these, we're working with folks like yourselves to make sure that we can capitalize on those. Oh, sorry, I forgot. And there is the link if you haven't had a chance to read it and you're interested in a good long read. The report is on our website here at BC Hydro /Bridge River. Wanted to share this worker forecast with you folks just to highlight a couple of things. One is really important to understand this is based on a number of projects, and projects are constantly shifting. So this is something we are regularly updating, and we expect these peaks and valleys to go up and down and move left and right a little bit. That's all part of how projects develop. However, things like the trend of in 2026, we're expecting to see an increase in workers coming to the region and needing accommodation. That is something we're planning towards, and through that 26 to 29 period, and then we do expect to have some work in 2030 and 2031 that may come in. And then definitely in 2032, some of those additional projects. This is stuff like the Seaton generator project, which is quite a ways off. So a few things to know, and the other piece there is that it's seasonal. We expect, construction windows tend to be in the summer, so in the winter periods we expect some drops, just naturally because it gets very hard to work outdoors in cold weather and things like that. Nothing new on this slide around consultation, but it's something we really would just want to continue to reinforce. I hope that folks in the room are familiar with BC Hydro's commitment to First Nations consultation and partnerships. Really just reiterating on all this work that we're doing. We're doing it in lockstep with Statlium and the nation, as well as the various bands, and ensuring that we're kind of working together with local communities as well as nations to kind of work on developing our reconciliation and moving forward as partners. So if you don't know, I just want to make sure that that's reinforced to folks in this meeting. Okay, and I know that was really, really quick, but I think I might have gotten close to my 5 minutes, and I'll hand it back to Dana to kind of go over our last slide here.
Thanks, Chris. So just a quick touch point for communication. So with the work that is taking place in Lillooet, it's really important for us to make sure that we're keeping the community apprised of the updates as they become available. Some of the channels that we're using to keep the community up to date are local ads. We've done in-person open houses, and we also have a biannual newsletter, as well as delegations and presentations like this one. As always, if you do have questions or are looking for more information, you can find that on our website, which is bchydro.com/bridgeriver. And we encourage you, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We have an email, or you can reach us by phone as well.
Awesome. And then that's it for us. So any feedback or questions from folks, we're more than happy to address. I'm not getting any audio from Joni, and I don't know, Dana, are you?
No.
Okay, so it's not just me. Mayor, we can't hear you. Sorry. We can hear you now.
Well, I didn't plug it back in yet, so that's kind of scary. Good sign. Can you hear us now, Chris?
You betcha.
Okay, so again, I just wanted to thank you for BC Hydro for giving us the ongoing updates. It's really definitely helpful. Questions? Okay, I have one. So when you were talking about the generators, you said that one generator you were looking at replacing. Do you ever have issues with the generators? Like, I know that generators can leak oil, they can.
Mhm.
What safeguards does BC Hydro put in place for those generators? And is there any issues with them?
You bet. Dana, you're okay if I take that one? I happen to have crawled around in that generator myself, so I'm happy to speak to that. So yeah, BC Hydro has industry-leading maintenance and programs. So these generators are built very robustly. They can go for 40, 50, 60 years, which is a fantastic thing when you make the kind of investment in them. That doesn't mean to say we don't turn them off and check them, and we do that very regularly. I don't know the maintenance schedule specifically for Seton, but I believe it's either annual or biannual, and there's degrees. So we have a whole maintenance protocol, and we go in and at various intervals we'll go and we'll inspect. We'll check the seals, we'll look for oil, those sorts of things at regular intervals. We can turn the generators off for short periods of time to do that, and we can manage flow through the dam, through the spillway, and not have negative impacts on, the salmon reds and things in the Seton River. The reason we want to look to do this bypass is for a prolonged outage, you would need to evacuate large volumes of water that would damage the Seton River, we would expect. And so the bypass helps us avoid that. Back to your question around, do we ever have issues with the units in terms of like leaking oil and things like that? Those are the number one things that we check on. We also have a ton of sensors in these things that check for things like heat. And when if we were to be leaking oil, we'd either see that we're losing oil very quickly and we'd be able to react, or we'd see increases in heat because of friction, and we'd be able to react, shut down the unit, and check on it. So it's all part of our monitoring and maintenance programs.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You bet. Yeah, you bet.
Okay, I'll do another question. With the types of lodging that will be used, it says further study will be needed to determine the feasibility of using a new hotel. Can you speak to that at all, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So as some folks may be aware, and I think it's in the study as well, we have been approached from Stylium Government Services, so the Stylium Nation, on the proposal to build a new hotel. And BC Hydro is very interested in that, and we're continuing discussions. I had one yesterday, with Stylium on it, so we're progressing that. Looking at the feasibility component is really around the costs of it. I mean, as a public utility, we have to consider ratepayers. There's a limit to how much you can pay for using a hotel, but it's something that we're working with currently with Stylium to see if we can find an arrangement that works for all parties to end up with a new hotel in Lillooet, as well as accommodation for BC Hydro's workers. So that's the feasibility component, is we're really just trying to figure out if it's doable and if we can make the numbers work.
Excellent, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, seeing no more questions, again, we just want to thank you for the update. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, folks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Great delegation. Okay, 7.1. Will somebody please move that the November 19th, 2024 regular council meeting minutes be adopted as presented? Councillor McMary, Councillor Reid, all in favor? Carried. 8.1, BC World Health Network membership.
Through the mayor, if council recalls, we did have the BC Rural Health Network appear as a delegation before council to explain their organization. And there was a request that the District of Lillooet become a member of the network. The cost at this time is $50 annually. We are suggesting that council appoint a council member to sit as a representative for the district. However, that's not a requirement to be a member.
Thank you. So I would like to, I'd like to sit on that, and in my absence, I would like Councillor McNary to jump in there as well, because I know that our CAO is on there too. So I think it just, at this time in Lillooet, it just bodes well to gather as much information as we can and have as much support as we can for our health services in Lillooet. So I don't know, I'm really.
Through you, the mayor, you can just move this whole motion, inserting your name with Councillor McNary as an alternate.
Okay. So I can make the motion that the district submit a membership request to the BC Rural Health Network, and that myself, Lori Huffle, be appointed, and also Councillor McNary as second, to be appointed as council representatives for the organization. Will somebody second that?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Would anybody else like to? Go ahead.
Well, I just had a few things. Can the BC Rural Network actually help us? Because I got more sort of no's from their presentation. Like their membership list says they've got 71 organizations, 25 individual members, 2 regional districts, and 31 municipalities. But when we look on the website, they don't actually have the names of the municipalities. Like, for example, they've just got Mackenzie, not the district of Mackenzie. So are towns, villages, and that actually signed up for it, or have they just listed all of the organizations under the region that they came from? And then they also said things like they put some notice down here that they don't take up controversial issues. There was just a lot of little flags there that I don't feel that they can actually do too much. And then they go by more of consensus. So they combine all the voices. So then the loudest voices and the largest thing would get the solution. So you would be rolled into that solution, even if it didn't work for you. So I'm not really for joining them.
Okay, well, CAO, Mr. McCullough and I, we actually did sit in the first one before we were supposed to be members of it, or before the delegation. And I think it's more of a strong support. That's what I gathered from it, is it's more of a strong support. These communities are all working together, and they're all saying kind of the same thing. But it's more of a strong support, and it's not reinventing the wheel. Like if they've got something that is working that they're going for, then we can kind of jump on with that. So to me, it's more of an educational thing and a more of a strong support.
Yeah, I just got out of it that they can't champion for us. We've got to be our own voice. They don't take up controversial issues. They're based in science, team-based, bringing voices. So, yeah.
On page 25, Patty, there's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, on the membership list. Yeah, that's where it says all their organizations, their individual members, and there's municipalities, but they don't actually give the municipalities by their name. They sort of listed everything by region.
Yeah, thank you to the mayor. I think it's a good option. I mean, I think if this was a $5,000 membership,
Yeah.
we'd all be kind of really kind of deep diving into it. I definitely see the kind of advocacy side of what we're doing, and running through a couple of the meetings. I've got quite a lot of kind of good little nice little kind of nuggets out of the last couple of meetings with them. They've actually shared quite a lot of stuff that you think, right, okay, that's worth kind of noting, that's good to know in the community, that's actually quite helpful. So I think there's a bit of time and effort to be spent on it before we can really kind of establish on what kind of real gains we're going to get out of it. But I think for what they're doing just now, I think it's a good opportunity to get involved with it. I think anything that's got the word health and anything that's got the word hospitals and emergency departments, we're definitely putting our hands up to at least kind of dip our toe in and find out more information about it. But they won't become political. They won't get involved in too many things. But what they're trying to do is kind of enable people to have a good sounding board to kind of bounce things across the table to each other, rather than just municipality to municipality. We kind of look at other areas and regions and other organisations and try and gain what they're doing. But we're starting to get some good information back from them already. And they did say they would wipe the $50 entrance fee on us, which I thought was nice of them.
Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Any Verizon report? Okay, correspondence. Does anyone wish to remove one or more of the 3 correspondence items under 9.1 of the agenda? Please raise your hand. Councilor Bruin?
Yeah, I'd like to remove the letter from the Village of Nakusp.
Okay, number 1, and we'll put that under 19.3, I believe. Any other ones? No. Okay, will somebody please move that the remainder of the correspondence items be received as information? Councillor Flan, Councillor Weed, all in favor? Carried. New reports from committees or commissions. I'll move on to 12.1 DBP 24007, variance to minimum rear setback and maximum height to legalized shed at 2010 Mohawk Road. So, please.
Hi, I have a PowerPoint presentation.
Sorry, yes. Everything's gotten a little messed up today.
Right, yep. So DB 24007 is a variance to allow for a shed at 2010 Mohawk. It would project about 1 meter into the rear setback and it'd be about 1.3 meters above the maximum height. Yeah, so the shed's the sorry, northeast corner of the lot, near the property line by Davidson Crescent. Yeah, the variance is allowed to be about 6 meters by Davidson Crescent, so the rear property line. Show the height. This would be a photo taken by our bylaw enforcement officer of the shed in July 2024. This is Davidson Crescent looking northwest. Again, so staff have no issues with proposed variance. Again, the building official has noted at internal referral that the shed was built without a building permit. Two pieces of feedback were received for 4 p.m. today. Both were in support of the proposed variance. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for your time. I'm happy to answer any possible questions you have about this application. And I'm aware that the summary you have, the story goes, kind of ends abruptly. I'm willing to give the gist of the story if interested. Otherwise, yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
It's that kind of a week. Honest to God. Okay, any questions? Councillor Kwan.
Just for the feedback forms, you said that there was 2. I know that there was only 1 in the package.
Yeah.
Was the other one for like the,
Yeah, it was in support.
it was in support?
uh,
Was it like the second or third one?
Yeah, it was just in support. Didn't get out for any further details.
Okay. Councillor McNary.
Is it built to, building code standards for a shed, or what is the story there?
My understanding from our building official, it is built to the building code. And my understanding from the building official is that right now the issue is just the zoning. It doesn't need zoning. The roofs, again, the set, again, the height, no height.
Councillor Kwan.
I did actually go online and look at these bunkies, and actually they're kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like a kit thing. It's all together there. But it did mention here, so because they did the building without the building permit, they did receive a fine, and that fine was paid. It says it in the second page.
Yeah, I believe, so if you build with a building permit, when you actually get the building permit, there is a fine to be paid at the building permit issuance, a penalty when you actually paid for when you're actually issued the building permit. But right now, they've only paid for the this variance permit to allow for the building permit to go forward.
Okay, but so everything is up to date and all is good. We just have to
Yeah.
sign on this.
Yes.
Okay, we've got Councillor De Bruin online with a question.
Yeah. So they built this without a building permit. If they had pulled a building permit,
Sorry, Councillor De Bruin, we can hardly hear you. Just 1 minute. Can you try again?
okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you barely though. Oh,
Okay.
Okay, so this, we good?
yeah,
Yep.
we're good. Yes.
So this was built without a building permit. If a building permit was issued at the prior to construction, would this variance been caught and corrected on both the height as well as the setback?
Yeah, so if they submitted the build, if they submitted this was discovered when we did the zone check and checked their site plan, that we noticed that they were too close to the rear lot line, and they did disclose themselves that the height was above the zoning bylaw for an accessory residential building, residential accessory building.
Okay, so essentially means that if there was a building permit issued prior to construction, none of this would have happened. We've had a building of the proper height with proper setback, but now because they didn't pull a building permit, now they're asking for forgiveness after the fact.
Sorry, if I may, I believe what Councillor De Bruin is asking, if they had done it in the proper order, would they still have required a DVP?
If they submitted, if they submitted their site plan in the proper order, we would have noticed that it was too close to the rear property line, And then we would have informed them of the fact. And then, yeah, otherwise, yeah.
Okay, or do you have further questions?
No.
Comment?
And through the mayor, we do have the applicant online as well, should there be clarification needed.
Is the applicant got her hand up?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Council, if you need more information to make a decision, then you can certainly ask the applicant as well.
I'm good. Okay, are we good? Okay, I will just call the question. Will somebody please move that the development variance permit DVP 24007 at 2010 Mohawk Road, legally described as lot 110, plan KP 18719, Lillooet Land District to vary the following provisions of the zoning bylaw 2018. Number 454, vary the minimum rear setback for a residential accessory building or structure as described in section 51.1.1 from 7.5 meters to 6.0 meters. And to vary the maximum height for residential accessory building or structure as described in section 51.1.1 from 4.0 meters to 5.3 meters be approved. Somebody want to move that? Councillor Klein, second. Councillor Weep. Is there any more questions or comments?
I do.
Mary, and then Councillor DeBruin.
Because this was done the way it was done, like, Councilor Flam was talking about for a fine for going ahead and doing it, to deter other people from doing it. Is there something there, or are we just guessing?
Through the mayor, yes, there is a penalty. I believe, without having the bylaw in front of me, that it's actually double the permit fee. So the penalty is to pay twice.
Which is what?
I couldn't tell you what the
Yeah,
permit
I'm not
fee is
sure.
off the top of my head.
Yeah, I would have to look that up and ask the building official how those fees are calculated.
But yes, there is a penalty.
Is it substantial enough to deter other people from doing what's happened? You don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Through the mayor, if you were having to pay double for something, I would think that would be a deterrent.
Councillor DeBruin.
Yeah, I'm having issues here too. I mean, I don't know exactly why we actually have a zoning bylaw if people just come and build something without a permit and then ask for forgiveness after the fact, and then we just approve the variance. And I mean, there's a zoning bylaw for a reason. So it doesn't sit on a foundation. It sits on a I don't know, a deck or something. I think the setback and that sort of stuff, and the height, the combination of the setback and the height makes it an obstruction for neighbors. So I don't know, can we ask them to move it so that it is within the setback? The height is difficult to change, but I agree with Councillor McNary. It's sort of an easy sort of like, okay, well, we'll just give them the variance. They pay $50 or whatever the fine was, but it is I feel rather inconsequential what we're doing.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Flynn.
Oh, I was just going back to the fine there, since we don't really know what the fine was. I only brought that up because in the proposal that the applicant submitted, it says here, we have since then paid our fine. So,
That might be referring to the actual cost of the development variance permit. I mean, we could ask the applicant what they were referring to, but that's what I interpreted.
Councillor Weed?
Through the mayor, I don't know, after reading all of this, I don't think it was something that they just did and wanted to ask for forgiveness later. And maybe it's because I'm on the other side of the realm than Councillor DeBruin and Councillor McNary, because I could totally see my husband doing something like this while I'm out of town. Because I'm the one that takes care of everything and then he just does. So I didn't take it that way, that they were just throwing it up there. If they had a plan, it cost too much, they weren't going to get it, then they got a deal. And while she was away, he put it up for a surprise. Yeah.
Through the mayor, my understanding is the fine was $500. That's what the fine was for it, so I assume that
Yeah, that's the fee for the development variance permit.
That's not the.
so that's not the fine then, so the fine then would be double that? Or-
No, sorry, through the mayor, we're talking the building permit, whatever the building permit fee is, I believe it's doubled.
I do know that she would like to speak, and maybe she could just clarify that for that help. Okay. So we do have the owner online. If you would, hi there.
Yes,
If you're
hello.
able- Okay. So can you tell us what the fine was?
As I recall, it was close to $500, like 400 and something that I
Okay.
had, that the bylaw officer fined me.
Okay.
And from what you're telling me, I might get another fine after the fact once I do get the permit. So if it's double that, it'll be double the permit. I think the permit itself was almost 200-300. So another 600 there.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, it wasn't intended. We did put in for a permit. But like I said, the kit arrived. It was all over our driveway in the back. And the husband said, well, let's build it while she's gone and we have extra bodies and sorry. We really didn't, we had hoped to have the permit before the bunkie arrived. But yeah, we put in the permit the end of May, early June. For the Father's Day weekend, that's when he put it up because I was in Vancouver. And we didn't hear back from the village office until August regarding the permit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Councilor Bruin? Glasses on, glasses off. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Councilor De Bruin opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 12.2 funding for new engine on the backhoe.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This request is for a new engine for our current backhoe. We need a backhoe for regular activities of the public works, to move ground and to replace water lines or sewer lines and whatnot. And we've looked at different options of funding the backhoe. We looked at buying a new one, leasing one versus repairing one, and we decided that the option that we're choosing is the least life cycle cost option. So we're recommending that we repair the backhoe, and we'll get another estimated 10 years out of the current if we replace the engine.
Can we have your word for that?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Klein.
Through the mayor, do we know what caused the engine failure? Like, was it strictly to do with the engine or were there other factors for it to fail?
Right.
Through the mayor, we believe that it was dusted out. There was a line that fed the turbo that had came off, and it basically just the engine got contaminated with dust and sand and soot. Basically gave up on it as well. So it wasn't a mechanical fault that caused them. It wasn't just there wasn't a lack of maintenance, and there wasn't just abuse or anything like that. It was a mechanical issue with the actual engine itself. The engine and the full machine doesn't actually have an awful lot of hours on it, although looking at it, you can tell that. These machines are used incredibly hard when they're loading salt, for example. So they do looks like an older machine than it actually is. But the rest of the engine and the hydraulics and the arms have all been replaced, and the cylinders quite recently. So we've been spending money on this for the last couple of years. So just to kind of get rid of it and throw it out just for a replacement engine on it didn't seem like the best viable option. How much is a new one, Tim?
300, 350?
They're not cheap. So we wanted to kind of go the most cost effective way for this one.
Councillor Weed?
Through the mayor. So we have the cost of the engine as 53,221. Do we have any idea of the amount of labor that would be in the re of the engine?
I believe there was two costs. One was the engine itself, about 45,000, and then 5,000 was for the install.
So is the 53 everything? That's correct. Okay, thank you.
Councillor McNary?
That's basically what I was gonna ask, if you have a breakdown, a breakdown of it, and, my understanding it's already fixed,
Correct.
and we're coming in, looking for, money later.
Correct.
For the financial amendment, through the mayor, for the financial amendment for the repairs to the machine.
Hereby.
I know it would. Good. Just one.
Any further questions or comments? Okay. So, Councillor Fun?
That's through the mayor. So how long ago did it fail? Just wondering why it wasn't brought to us before now, if it's already been fixed.
Thank you, I'll do this. So at the time it failed, probably 2-3 months ago, then around that point, our understanding was that we would probably have enough in the operating budget, and then that was not the case, so we had to bring it back to the financial amendment for council to approve it.
Okay. Further questions or comments? Okay, will somebody please move that the council approve the expenditure of 53,221 for a new engine for the district's backhoe to be funded from the general capital reserve, and that the financial plan be amended to include this expenditure and funding. Councillor Weed, Councillor McNary, any further questions? All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Sorry, any opposed?
No, I did. He put his hand
It
up.
was a lifetime.
12.3 UBCM grant application. Somebody want to speak to that? Sure.
Through the mayor, this is a request from Suzanne Denbeck, our economic development liaison, to expand on the C2C meetings that happened this year, to continue those on, and to further that by convening a working circle and action circles. So this is a request to apply to UBCM for up to $20,000 in funding for those projects.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Weed?
Through the mayor, I have a question, but it's not necessarily about the funding or how it's done. The last C2C, we got a really late notice on it. Or is this different? Like usually it's every few years, but we just got one from Cayuse or something a week or so ago, but it was like 2 days from now we're doing this. Is that something totally different?
I'm sorry, I'm not aware what you're referring to, but this is different.
Okay, well, we had gotten an email and it was very short notice and I'm like, okay, 2 days and we're supposed to do this on Saturday all day or whatever it was. I can't even remember, but
That was through the hub, I believe, with Kim North.
they said it as a C2C. And so I felt bad missing it. But I wasn't aware that it was a C2C. So maybe they just called it something that they shouldn't have.
I believe it was a series of workshops.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
It is different than C2C. The RC2C is with the SLRD and kind of get together and, yeah, but that one was a series of workshops. Along that. Yes. Counselor Thompson.
Just a question. I know how important these C2Cs are. There was just one mention in here that there may be significant staff time involved. Do we have the staffing to actually give the attention to this? Is there going to be like reassigning of positions or like duties or anything?
Through the mayor, when I was putting significant staff time, I was speaking more of the meetings themselves, attending the meetings themselves. The projects themselves are more taken care of externally. It's just a matter of attendance.
Any further questions? Okay, I will call the question. Will somebody please move that the council support the District of Little has $20,000 grant application to UBCM for a community-to-community event to convene a working circle and action circles. Councillor Flan, Councillor Weep, all in favor? Carried. Carried. Good. 12.4, 2023-2024 municipal objectives update. Huh?
Through the mayor. So we were starting to kind of update these just for councils standing on it. There are a couple of things that we've still not started just now, which is the MOUs, the economic development, and also the emergency support services. But those are now getting underway because we have the fire chief with us. And I've also met with Coach Creek and Band with regards to economic development and also our water and TSA objectives as well. So we did manage to get quite a number of objectives kind of started off the ground. I can't tell what ones they were here just now because they're not. The ones we started, the ones that we started getting in progress with, we did the MTSA one, which I started recently, and we also got the shovel-ready projects. So we'll be starting to get more and more projects ready to go. We're also looking at our vacant properties in town. We're looking at what district properties we have. We actually discovered that the district has another property that we didn't know that we had. I just found that out today through Ministry of Transportation, which is very positive. It's just not been registered with land titles. So we're still kind of working our way through these items and these lists just now. So that we can bring those back at our strategic priorities meeting and then discuss all of these in great detail at that point. So.
Thank you. So my question is, I know that we were planning a strategic planning meeting. It got canceled. So I'd really like to see one in the new year so that we can, have an in-depth look at our objectives before we complete the finances. It'd be really great. If we could plan that.
So that we know we'll be scheduling that for early in the new year.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Councilor Flan, did you have a question? No. None others? Councilor Brewer? No. Okay, will somebody please move that the 2023-2024 municipal objectives, quarter 4, 2024 progress report be received for information. Councilor Flan, Councilor Weep, all in favor? Carried. See the trade. Thank you. Okay, 12.5, 2025 public budget survey results. Wow, that was interesting. The survey.
Thank you through the mayor. So we did, and hopefully everybody already knows this, have a public budget survey that we opened at the beginning of November. It was open for just about 3 weeks. I was quite happy and surprised with the number of responses that we got. We did get 125 responses, Of course, we'd always like it to be more, but I was quite impressed with that number, particularly within the first day and a half. I think we had 30 responses to the budget. So hopefully the mayor did not put 30 splash parks in there.
They are there. I've seen them.
But the idea behind it prior to council's consideration of budget moving forward is to hopefully provide council with a bit more information on how the community feels and what their priorities are. And I think some of the responses might surprise council. I think some of them, I don't think anybody is surprised by. But I do hope that council had a chance to read through the report and see all of the responses. I did word for word put any text responses that we received. I did put them word for word. As I mentioned in the report, there was one that was redacted. It was not appropriate for public consumption. But yes, so this report is just for council's information. We're not asking for any decisions to be made from it, but hopefully it will help sort of guide you when we do start discussing budget, which is coming very quickly.
Thank you. I did find one response there. Joni for Prime Minister. Wow. She has a fan, a big, huge fan out there. That's awesome. As well as the rest of us. We appreciate all the work that you put into this. And it was really great. No, I didn't put in 30 splash parks, but I'm so glad people did. Anyways, Councilor Reed.
Yeah, through the mayor, I was really impressed with all the positive feedback we got. I was shocked, actually. I thought we'd get tarred and feathered. I was really pleased that the highest priority was fire protection, emergency services, and water and sewer, because usually people are looking for the fluff. So that was quite impressive. That it was wonderful survey responses.
Okay. Anything further? No, okay, I will call the question. Will somebody please move that the 2025 public budget survey report be received for information? Councillor McMary, Councillor Reed, all in favor? Carried. You're in favor, Councillor DeBruin?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, 13.1, council procedure bylaw.
Thank you, through the mayor. So this is the council procedure bylaw. Council has seen it now a number of times. I believe this is the third meeting that it's at, and staff are recommending that the bylaw be adopted.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? No,
I think.
Oh, Councillor DeBruin.
I know we're final reading, so I don't have any substantive things. I do have a question for clarification on notice of motion. And so typically the way that we've introduced notice of motions is that we provide notice at a meeting, and then the next meeting, the motion is on the agenda. But in this council, on page 111, section 35, it says that it needs to be submitted by Wednesday to the corporate officer. So is that just a change in procedure, or is it still that we provide notice at a meeting?
Through the mayor, the purpose behind this is so that the corporate officer has the wording of the proposed motion prior to the meeting. It can still occur as in the past, where it just comes up at the council meeting. And that's where section 37, where the majority of council would just have to approve the notice of motion.
Okay, so we're not obliged to provide notice at a prior meeting.
Sorry, there is no significant change from how it's done right now. Just that the corporate officer would appreciate having it in writing prior to the meeting, so that it's not a surprise to the corporate officer as well.
Okay.
Clarification? That's
Yeah,
good?
it's clear as mud, but like I said, it's for final reading, so it's all good.
Okay. Any further questions, comments?
Seeing none, will somebody please move that the council procedure bylaw number 2024-012 be adopted? Councillor Weed, Councillor McNary, all in favor? Carried. Okay, cross-connection control bylaw.
And sorry, just before you start, a reminder that we're excluding the first resolution.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The cross-connection control bylaw is a requirement under the Interior Health Water Operating Permit. It's also a really good idea.
Through the mayor, and we did go through quite a good and powerful and lengthy workshop as well, which I think the council will appreciate. It was quite informative, and I've also spoken to the Chamber of Commerce, albeit very briefly, just about any potential impacts to businesses and such like as well. So if there are any other concerns from businesses that want to discuss that in more detail, then the Chamber of Commerce and myself, we can go through that as well and have those discussions. And if they have any questions, we're happy to take that back to the consultant we worked on with that as well.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor McNary.
The cross-connection control penalties. I was reading through there now, who's going to be paying for their backflow testing every year? Is it annually or what is that?
It depends on the type of risk of the particular backflow that needs to be tested. So some need to be tested more often than others. So depending on the type of business, we have a risk matrix to determine how often each business needs to be tested. So for example, if you had a car wash, they deal with a lot of chemicals, they would be tested every year. And then if you had an office that is showing no problems, then that would be a lower risk and that would be less often.
Who puts the bill for that? And do we have somebody that does that internally?
We have someone internally that's trained to do the testing.
Okay, do we do it for free or do we have a charge for it? Is that, these are penalties. But
sorry, through the mayor, I'm not sure that particular detail, but we have a written policy and I think that is there. I'm just not familiar with that portion of the question.
Yeah, it'll be one of our water operators will go out and actually do that, and it's the responsibility of the business owners to submit testing. If they can't get testing, which will probably be the first question, they'll say, well, who do I get to test it? Work out where to test it with them, and it will be billed as well appropriately, and then we would take that record.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, Councillor DeBruin.
Yeah. So we had a presentation during Committee of the Whole from MTS. What was the contribution of MTS to the drafting of this bylaw?
They pretty much wrote it for us, and we've started this process about 8 years ago, and this was the bylaw that they particularly wrote for us.
Okay. And did we pay for them? Did we pay them for drafting it?
I'm not familiar with the work that they did 8 years ago, but I assume so we did.
So what's the primary business of MTS?
And through the mayor, the MTS trains and promotes they train water operators and promote water safety within the province.
Yeah, so they train people to be able to do these inspections.
There is a course for cross-connection control bylaw, yes, that we've sent our operator to that course.
Okay, so we paid someone to draft a bylaw that indicates that we need to send people to their company to get trained.
Yes.
Isn't that a conflict of interest?
Yeah, through the mayor. Not necessarily, there are other companies that do that as well. It's a fair question, but we wouldn't just use MTS. MTS are one of a number of companies that we could use. We brought MTS back to do the workshop, but because they are probably one of the most reputable companies there that we work with. But I can understand why that question would come around.
Yeah, it makes everything that they recommend very suspect, right? Because they have an interest in whatever is in that bylaw.
Through the mayor, yeah, the requirements for us to do this or to implement this bylaw come directly from Interior Health. The recommendations don't come from MTS, of course, so we're following Interior Health's recommendations for our water license. But we would lean on other experts, and I think it would be reasonable to assume that we would lean on the market industry leading experts in order to help us guide us through the bylaws that we're writing. They're the ones that are actually training the people to do it at the same time. But it's I think your question is fair, but it's led by Interior Health's requirements for us to have that bylaw in place.
And through the mayor, I understand that we are required to do so, but in future bylaw projects, I would strongly urge staff to seek independent consultants rather than consultants that have a vested interest in the outcome of the bylaw.
Okay. Councillor Kwan.
Through the mayor. I'm assuming here, I'm not too sure, so we are doing this cross-connection bylaw. There are other towns and municipalities who have a cross-connection bylaw in place already. As it's kind of been said, there's no plagiarism in government. I would assume that these other places have basically the same bylaw as what we're introducing right now. Correct? Okay, so it's not a brand new document. It is something that is passed around.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor.
I forgot. I was answering.
Okay, all right. Any further questions or comments? Yeah.
Okay, just one other one. I don't know the level that MTS were involved in this right at the bylaw a couple of years ago as well. I'm not even sure. It certainly wasn't done under this council's or probably anyone, exception of Joni wouldn't have been involved in this. So I'm not really sure the level that MTS was involved with even at the time. So just for kind of clarification on that. So.
Okay, Councillor De Bruin.
Yeah, just with regard to financial implications, and Councillor McNair alluded to that as well, is that it's not very clear from the report what the financial implications are on this bylaw. So the financial implications, it says that a staff member will be dedicated to this program. So a staff member will be dedicated. So I take that as a full-time employee or for a significant amount of time. This will not have any direct financial implication, but it means that staff have to change the focus of their duties. So whatever they are doing now, they're not going to continue to doing in the future. So it does have an impact. So what services are we no longer providing because this person is no longer going to be doing whatever they were doing and are now going to do these cross connections. And the second part of my question is, what is the cost for our community if we have 300 to 400 of these cross connections, the annual inspections and the training of inspectors and sending things off by courier to, or whatever? Do we have some sense of what this is going to cost the our residents and business community?
And can I just add before that's answered is what is the cost if we don't? So both ways, just so that we've got that proper roundabout. Okay, so.
Probably gonna be a multi-part answer.
Yes.
But I can sort of take the staff time one. I don't believe that the report was stating this would be a full-time job for any one staff member. It did say a staff member would be dedicated for a significant amount of time. So obviously it's going to form a focus of their work. As to what services are going to be reduced because that staff member is now focused on a different area, that's where council's budget discussions come into play. We have, and I say this very loosely, a bucket of funds that we can use for salaries and wages. And we know all the day-to-day stuff that has to be done, but it's the extras that may be unprioritized. I don't think that's a word. Unprioritized because we don't have the staff available to do that. However, having said that, if council wants to continue with the same levels of service that we've had even in this current year, 24, then we would have to look to increase our staffing numbers. So it's entirely a decision of council as to where that focus comes from, or if the focus can be given to somebody else. Okay. And then I believe the next part was how much it was going to cost for the 200 or 300 businesses that.
I don't think I have that information through the mayor. At this time, I need to take it back and calculate the numbers.
Would the revenue collected from all the fees and the connections and the checks, would that balance? Obviously, there's got to be some sort of balance table there that would offset the staff costs, right?
So yeah, so through the mayor, just to answer Councillor Devin's question, those costs and what the cost would be for the community would be the cost that we then would recover and then would use for staff time on it as well. We wouldn't be the person that would be actually doing the inspections for us just now. It doesn't have a great deal of capacity to do these things all the time. It's full time, but can still go out and do the largest majority of them right now. As that increases and as permitting and applications and bylaws and all these other things increase through time, we will need to look at that again. If we're finding that he is too stretched for some reason, or if he's too stretched and this is becoming too burdensome, then we will tell the public that this is something that they require to submit tests. They may get those tests done themselves and then submit them to the water department to check it as well. So the costs themselves shouldn't actually be too burdensome on it, although we do need to dedicate somebody to it as part of our requirements. The next question through the mayor was, what happens if we don't? That's not an option. It's not something that we can look at and just say that we're not going to do. The requirement from the non-compliance from Interior Health was would they at least start this process, which we've done before December 2024. So the requirements are to have it started, which we have done by this month.
Thank you. Councillor Weaven and Councillor McNary.
Through the mayor, this, I guess my question is Is this another example of a government entity pushing more work down on the municipality? Like, it's like they're always adding things and changing things, and the small communities are paying for it.
Through the mayor, I'd say yes and no. I think that as we learn more about water systems and drinking water and contaminations, and as towns become more complicated, and as we know there's more risks out there, as one of our statutory services is water. If this was them saying we want you to plough Main Street, I'd be saying yes. But I think when it comes to the water system, we have that responsibility on us. And I think as drinking water improves and as the requirements, the science goes into it, we improve with that. And there's more burdens on us. There is more burdens on us now than there was 20 years ago. UV lights, hyperfiltration, sand filters, chlorination, all of these other things are requirements that unfortunately do get passed on to the public. So I'd say yes to it, but I wouldn't say that it's I wouldn't say it's a huge overreach from the government.
No, I don't think it's a huge overreach, but it just seems every year there's more and more things that the municipality is supposed to take care of. I don't know. Sooner or later, that rope is gonna get a little tight.
With the employees now, is there another avenue that the business owners, if they're demanded to do this, is there another avenue, like a contractor that can come in and do this services also?
Yep, yeah, yes, we're actually in contact with a number of contractors that are willing to start coming in and providing their services.
And then that would go straight on to the business owners then, and not the taxpayers.
Yep.
Do you have any idea what that's worth?
I do. I don't have my numbers in front of me. I'm thinking like I don't want to say it unless I have my numbers in front of me, but I have general emails of talking to the company about how much it costs for them to do the testing.
Okay, I'm gonna do our CAO and then I've got Councillor DeBruin on the screen.
Through the mayor, just to kind of bring that one background, and when we were in the public meeting for the committee of the whole, MTS actually said we don't want that. They get asked all the time to do these things, and they actually publicly stated, they said we get asked all the time for it. They would rather not do that. They want to lean more in towards the other side of this kind of business. No, they don't want to be gaining business out of that as well, which is to Councillor DeBruin's point earlier on, I think.
Yeah, Councillor DeBruin?
Sorry, my brain has fogged up, so I forgot my question. Apologies.
Okay, no problem. Anybody else? Can I read these two together? Is that okay? Okay, I'm gonna call the question then. Will somebody please move that the cross connection control bylaw number 2024-011 bylaw notice enforcement bylaw number 2021-003, amending bylaw number 5, bylaw number 2024-015, and fees and charges bylaw number 2021-003, amending bylaw number 6, bylaw number 2024-016, be read a second and third time. Councillor Weed, Councillor McNary. Any more questions, comments? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, any work in progress? List of motion? Okay, report, please. Okay, my report. Started small and it's kept growing. Okay, SLRD, I'm gonna start there. So there's a few donations that I'd like to share. Vivian Birch Jones of Area B, sitting over there in the back row, donated $24,000 to the District of Lillooet towards pool costs, operations, and programs, and to support lifeguard recruitment, training, and retention. So I just wanted to thank Area B for that. It was a generous donation. It helps us keep the pool up and running. So again, thank you. Also, Area A Director Sal Demera donated $3,000 to the Lillooet Friendship Center Society to support the Lillooet Food Bank with costs for transportation and products. So thank you to Area B. SLRD annual elections for chair and vice chair were held November 27th and 28th. Jen Ford, Squamish councillor, will continue in the chair role, and Area C Director Russell Mack is vice chair. Okay, Simon Rosenman. He has done a lot of work towards a passenger train reinstatement for Lillooet, and he sent some correspondence here in tonight's package. You know, just a piece regarding Alberta's success, and it just, you know, Mr. Rosenman, he sent another piece about Ontario's success just a little bit ago, and I just really appreciate the work that he's doing. I think we all do. It's just hoping we can discuss that rail transportation in the coming year with the ministries. It's just nice that somebody out there is just taking on this workload. Again, much appreciated. And lastly, today, Minister Josie Osborne's office called wanting a phone meeting, gave me 20 minutes notice where I whipped them. Stormed into the CAO's office, whipped my phone out, and we had a call. It was brief. It was quick, and it was just a quick overview. And basically, we just hit the tops of the waves of what's going on in Lillooet, particularly Office of Health, and a few other things. It was great. I think she is going to be great as the Minister of Health. And we're going to look forward to a more formal meeting, hopefully face-to-face in and around somewhere around April. So that's it for me. I'm going to move to Councillor DeBruin on screen.
Yeah, I don't have much to report. The only thing that I've to report on was that I joined the Memorial Day festivities in a very wet circumstances. But that's all my report.
Thank you. Councillor Fun?
Okay, November 20th, I attended the Lillooet Library Association board meeting. It was actually the first LALA meeting that I had attended since July, as I wasn't able to attend the September one because we were at UBCM. So I did give a late report to the board on the Measuring Social Impact of Libraries clinic that I attended at UBCM on September 19 at the ridiculous hour of 7 o'clock in the morning. The clinic was focused on the social impacts of BC's public libraries. November 21st, I attended the Lillooet Historical Society AGM, listened to reports from the president, Mark Lampman, and treasurer, Johannes Bodendorfer. Angela Bissett, the executive director, gave a PowerPoint presentation sharing the Lillooet Historical Society strategic plan and accomplishments. And I want to say a very impressive accomplishment of the Lillooet Historical Society was completing their inventory of museum cataloging of over 3,902 items with well over 3,000 photos of the items. And December 2nd, the Cross Connection Control Committee of the whole meeting. And that's me.
Thank you. Councillor McNary.
I had a grandson.
Councillor Lee.
Other than the cross connection meeting, the whole meeting, that was about it for me. I'm on vacation.
Okay. CAO report.
His takes up for all of us.
I know, man, take it up too much. I'll be nice and quick. Give everyone.
Just before we get started, we just take a quick 5-minute break. That'd be all right? Okay. Second. Yeah, okay, 5 minutes, please.
What is it now?
He needs to watch them.
Joni, are we still recording? Sorry, are we still recording? Yes. Okay.
I can say the same on DVP.
Oh, okay. Did you think you were?
Yeah, it's nice if we can
Okay, recess over. I have to make one apology. Evidently, Jeff Ford, I said was the Squamish counselor. She's actually the Whistler counselor. So my apologies, and I will move straight into that CAO report.
Thank you to the Mayor. Fairly standard council, our CEO report at the end of the year. I did put a little reflection in it. I appreciate the fact that I need to work in some of my deliveries and how I start letters sometimes. Always sounds slightly negative. The CEO clinic has moved to once a month just now, which is fantastic for me. But they're still fairly strong. We're still seeing around between 4 and 5 people attend some nights. Sometimes it's really busy, which is fantastic. Nice to see that. From the public works standpoint, we did get asphalt, which I'm very, very happy with. And I mean, hearing from Dawson that they struggled to get asphalt is testimony to the fact that we did actually manage to get some work done this year. So I appreciate council approving that at the last minute with the last council meeting as well. So thank you for that. There's a number of smaller projects that are continuing to go on just now, including our new UV filters, our sand filters, and the water treatment plant, which I'm happy about, and also pulling out the large pipes and the casings from the back of the rec centre, which is fantastic. We have a new fire chief, which I am absolutely delighted about. Corey has been, yeah, very, very happy. How long have you been with the department, Corey?
You're rolling into my 12th year.
Oh, very well received from the rest of the fire department, which is fantastic for us. Corey has been an easy choice for us, but we want to make sure that he has the right level of support. And Darren Oiki will be coming back to help and support us as well for consultancy work over and above. But Corey will be our go-to person and has already produced a fabulous report for us as well. Now, this was the Surrey Fire Department report model. Is it Surrey?
It is.
Sorry. So they do the report, but I edited it just to say it a little bit. But this is the standard type report to expect to see from the fire department from through the honor. So it shows that we've had 7 incidents and our apparatus has been out on 20 separate occasions, which we're actually very happy about. So the report itself, if Corey wants to talk about it at a later council date, I'm happy to stand him up and embarrass him at that point. But just for council's information just now, it's interesting to see the level of detail that we can go into on some of these reports. So it's actually quite interesting. Certainly from my standpoint, I find it quite interesting. Bylaw, safety, conservation, again, pretty standard. This time of year, we're seeing some increased activities on phone calls, which is atypical. And then from the planning department, again, we did see 3, just for council's information, we did see 3 specific information pieces coming back about our section 57s. The first one of that was on Main Street. We had the property on 545 Main Street. Their engineering consultant came back and asked for an extension on 30 days just to see them through the Christmas period, which we're quite happy to say, yep, fantastic. They're still communicating with us weekly. They're very much working towards it. We then also had a Station 45, or Station Hill 45, sorry, and then Mitchell Hill Road. The landowner for those properties came in to see me and has boarded them up and has also agreed to work on a collaborative plan with me and the district in March and present it back to me in March so that we know exactly what's going to be happening with the Mitchell Road property as well. So we've seen fantastic strides forward with that, with both these properties. We have spoken to developers, people that are interested in the property, but as it stands right now, this is still owned by the same person, and he's very, very keen to come in and make sure that he continues to work with us in a really positive manner. So the hard work the council did with the Section 57s is really paying off, and I really appreciate the staying the course with these because they're difficult, and the landowners appreciated that as well and understand where we're sitting in these. The recreation centre, through Joni's magical survey that she put out, one of the other things that we recognise very quickly is we do need to start looking at what we're doing with recreation. Recreation is a huge thing in this town, and it's something that we really need to kind of look at what we're doing. So we are initiating a small planning stage with a gentleman in town to draft up a couple of ideas for us and what we're doing with the gymnasium and what we're doing with the climbing wall. And we'll present these back to council for some options, and we'll put it back out for some public input as well. And we're also looking at a new program facilitator in order to try and kickstart facilities and programs and events for next year, so that we have a dedicated person on staff that is actually working and operating, doing Zumba classes and Zumba classes and spin classes and additional swimming classes, and then also can take the lead on these events for us. So expect that application to come out quite shortly once we discuss the budget and see what council are interested in. So big changes in recreation and other way. We feel like we've very much heard from Interior Health's hospital staff that they require a new facility. They want more activities. They want to be able to do things. And right now, certainly within the district of Alloway, it's something that we don't do an awful lot of. It's something that we don't promote an awful lot of, and it's something that, unfortunately, the staff that are in here just now just don't have the capacity to be able to go and do it as well. So we really want to bring that forward as a strategic priority, but that will be a big discussion moving into what we're doing for Stratton. Speak.
I have one question on page 187 of my old agenda. I think it's still the same one, but you wrote a end of year CAO message. I'd like to see that on the website and or the newspaper. I think that would be great if the community could see that. That's all right.
Sure.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to new business. 19.1 2025 council meeting schedule. Okay, so we put this agenda item off until tonight so that Councillor DeBrun could speak to it. So Councillor DeBrun, you're on the floor is yours. Oh, we can't hear you.
You're still muted.
After 4 years on Zoom, I still do make the same mistakes. Yeah, I appreciate a consideration to put this off so that I was able to join. As many of you know, I've taken up different employment, and the employment that I currently have puts me out of town, and it also doesn't provide as much flexibility as I had in my prior employment. I'm in a situation where my employer, there's a lot of noise. Sorry. I'm in a situation where my employer requires me to attend a meeting on the first and the third Tuesday of the month, which coincides with the current schedule that has been presented to you. And with that in mind, and I understand that the timing of the meetings are slightly off, but at the same time, it's very difficult to make that shift, running from one meeting to another. So with that in mind, I'm hopeful that we can have a discussion about potentially moving the meeting to a different date. There was some prior discussions about potentially moving it to the second and the fourth Tuesday. I understand that the SLRD meetings are a bit of a constraint, but even then, there's currently conflicts with the SLRD meetings as well, because there are, I think, 2 or 3 meetings where we currently meeting on Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday, the mayor is going to the SLRD meeting. So having said that, I've looked at a potentially Monday or a Wednesday, but Monday would create the least amount of conflicts. I know there's a number of statutory holidays where the meeting would have to be moved to Tuesday. But at this point, with current agenda, I would only be able to attend one meeting in 2025. That is a January meeting, because that was moved. And if the meetings are moved to a Monday, I will be able to join the majority of the meetings. And I'm asking this from a perspective that, you know, a council position is a commitment to serve the community, but it remains a sort of a secondary function to employment. And I think we have to recognize that in order to allow as many people to run for council as possible, and whether or not they're, you know, they're working or they're retired or whatever. And we have situations where people have work constraints, whether or not they're working, you know, a night shift at the mill, which makes, you know, an evening meeting challenging, or other, you know, other restrictions that they may have. I think it behooves the district to make accommodations in order to find a time. And like I said, the only conflict I have is exactly the first and the third Tuesday of the month. I'm very flexible in all other days. It's just that this particular schedule will only allow me to attend one meeting. So yeah, I'd like to introduce an amendment or an alternative to meet on Mondays. So it just would shift all meetings down one day. So the 13th of January, the 3rd of February, the 17th of February is a holiday, so it would still be on that Tuesday. March would be the 3rd and the 17th. April would be the 7th, and then the 21st is a holiday, so it would be the 22nd on Tuesday. May would be the 6th and the 20th, because the 19th is a holiday. June would be the 2nd and the 16th. July the 14th. August the 18th. September 1st is a holiday, so it would be the 2nd on the Tuesday. September 15th, October 6th, October 20th, November 4th, November 17th, and then December 15th.
Okay, I have a few questions here. So just for reference, the second and the fourth Tuesday of the month, Councillor DeBruin and I discussed that, and it's true, I have SLRD. So, and there's 3 meetings currently a year in which, so I go home tonight. For me personally, I rarely sleep after a council meeting because I'm going over everything. And SLRD is the next 2 days, and those meetings are fairly packed. So our agenda is between all of the SLRD is about 800 pages. Now, we don't read 800 pages, but there's a lot of information in those pages that we go over. So that makes it so the weekend before that. So if you were to look at this agenda plus the SLRD, it will come to 1,000 pages. I just don't give my best in doing that. So for me, I cannot go second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Mondays were challenging. We did change them before. We used to meet on Mondays. They didn't work out well because the agenda came out on Thursdays or Fridays. So if we had anything going on, we had company for the weekend or we were out of town for the weekend, then Monday left, we were coming unprepared. We felt that we were coming unprepared. And because staff holidays were often on Mondays and we switched them. So we changed to Tuesdays. I looked at Pemberton, Squamish, Whistler, Kamloops, Little Lot Nation, and Lowett. We all picked Tuesdays because Tuesdays are basically the sweet spot of the week. And yeah, it's definitely a tough one.
I do want to say congratulations on your new job, Councilor Jabour. That's an amazing job, and we're really happy for you. So your meetings start at 7 o'clock on the Tuesdays. Is there a way that you can, and I just have to ask this, is there a way that you can tune into ours at 5 o'clock? What time is it now? It is 7:08, so, and we're just about through the agenda. Is that an option?
And I think there's a physical option there, but there's also, as you indicated yourself, you need that space between the district council meeting and an SLRD meeting to sort of, go from one into the other. And my role in council meetings at Leap What Nation is similar as a CAO, and it's so maybe it's a good question to Joe. Like, do you want to do another meeting in 5 minutes? And it is. And I think it goes back to exactly what you said, Mayor Hoffel. It is about the quality of the meeting. It's not just attending it; is being able to contribute in such a way that you're doing your job, or you feel that you're serving your constituents in such a way that that you continue to hold their trust. And so it is a very difficult ask to sort of move from a 5 o'clock to a 7 o'clock meeting and just switch over. There's a lot of setup to do. There's a lot of mental setup to do. And,
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions? Councilor Weed.
I'm just kind of curious, through the mayor, sorry. We did do the Mondays. Past council did the Mondays. We changed from Monday to Tuesday. We also changed from 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And I'm wondering, let's go to the next day. How about Wednesday? Midweek. Would that work we wouldn't have to change the Monday holidays. It would always be the Wednesday on the second and the third week.
So if I can speak to that, that's so the Wednesday is, for me, it's not an issue. Wednesday would be perfect, but I think it creates some issues for Mayor Hoffel, and because there are weeks where the SLRD meeting is on Wednesday and Thursday, so then you would have to switch from a first to a first and a third week to a second and a fourth. And then particularly in September, it creates a lot of issues because now all of a sudden we have UBCM. And so that's why when I looked at the two alternatives, a Monday or a Wednesday, Monday, you will have fewer exceptions other than having to navigate through the holidays, and there's 4. And but Wednesday, you get into these issues with the SLRD, particularly in the second week in September and in November as well. And but like I said, I'm fine with the Wednesday, but I think it's the SLRD meeting that becomes the issue.
Councilor Flan.
Through the mayor, Mondays I have a bit of a problem with, well, one, because I know it would be a shorter turnaround, so agendas would be still coming up a Thursday. Sometimes they don't come out on the Friday. I know myself, if I have any questions on the agenda, I do email staff, which would mean that staff would be trying to answer those questions on a weekend. And if it's something that they have to wait until they get back into the office on the Monday to then respond, with myself, I work full time as well. So on the Monday, I would not have any time to be able to look at those emails, pass back any other questions before, because I pretty much leave work, grab my stuff and come to meetings as well. So for myself, Mondays wouldn't work. Also personally, I have a very busy family. It's taken us a year and a half to get all of our schedules to work between all of our jobs, grandkids, and everything else. So Tuesdays for me work, and that's just personally, but the Monday, I think that's asking too much of staff. And also for others who do work, there's no little buffer zone between working and council meetings to be able to read and understand if you've got questions or any other questions that follow the original questions there.
Councillor Mary.
My question to you, Ralph, Councillor Boone. What is your other option if we don't change this?
What is my other option?
Or what is your options? Or do you have one or whatnot?
My suggestion would be to meet on Monday or on Wednesday. My option, I mean, if it stays on Tuesday, I've indicated before, I'd be able to attend one meeting, and that's in January.
Okay, could you attend any meetings over this here TV thing or what?
But just in January. The January 14th meeting, my employer has a January 7th meeting. I don't know exactly why. Well, the January 14th is not a first Tuesday, it's the second Tuesday. So that's why there's no conflict in January. So, and I got elected into this role, and I take that responsibility very seriously. I think, you know, our council had a a strong start. We worked very well as a team. I feel that, you know, we all have a voice at the table, and I'd like to continue to have that voice and bring those perspectives in. I'm not someone that gives up easy, and like I said, I think constituents would be disappointed if I was not able to continue to play that role that they vote me in for. And so I appreciated that it is not easy. And that, you know, there's you know, the sacrifice that I'm making is that I have to sit here on a Zoom meeting instead of next to Councillor Flan, where, you know, it's just easier to meet, easier to converse and that sort of stuff. But those are, you know, those are the things that I have to deal with. Yeah, I'm hoping to find some a consideration so that I can continue to serve my role.
Okay, Councillor Flan.
Yeah, through the mayor. Councillor De Bruin, so with any of the scenarios, are you actually going to be physically at the table, or will everything be Zoom for the rest of this term?
I mean, I want to, so the commute is an hour, which is not that bad. But the commute is ultimately made more complicated in winter time due to winter driving conditions. And it is my intent to attend meetings in person where driving conditions allow. And it requires that I take a leave of absence from my work a little bit earlier, and that I drive back in order to make the meeting. And so, like I said, it will occur more frequently, but more in the summer than in the winter. And that's, like I said, it just it gets a little bit risky, particularly after a long day and that sort of stuff to try to keep your focus driving in the dark. And but I appreciate your question, and I'm committed to showing up in person, but it won't be every week.
Councillor McNary.
Have you asked your employer, your new employer, if they could change their dates also?
I have talked about it, and there was a very quick answer. Also because the council is 13, and so there's a lot of people on council, and I am still in my probation period, and so there is, I think at some point there may be some more leeway once you've established yourself, people have the confidence and that sort of stuff where you could actually pose those questions. But I don't feel that I'm in a position now to make strong demands to my employer in terms of to make these recommendations, mainly because the ask there is fairly substantial. And that's sort of my current position where I'm in.
Okay. For me, I feel that the ask here is fairly substantial as well, because it's not just the five of us that sit at this table. It is about the CAO. It is about the finance officer. It's about all the staff that come here. We've built our lives around Tuesday nights when we make that commitment to the 4 years. And, like I said, I'm very happy that you have this job, and but for me, I have to think of, the delivery on Mondays and Wednesdays, and stuff like on Thursdays that come, like there's fire department practice and there's committees on Wednesdays. And, like I said, we've built our lives around these dates, and, we changed it because it wasn't working before. We moved it to 5 o'clock, so it was better. I do want to keep it so that in 2 years, people that are working and have full-time jobs can also be counselors. That's very important. It would be easy to say, okay, maybe we can move it up half an hour or something, but I just, having the jobs, our wages just don't cover it for people to not have other jobs. So it's important that we keep it at this hour too. So I don't know. For me, I'm asking that should we keep this schedule? I know it will be hard on you, because I recognize what it's like to go to a council meeting and then go to the SLRD, because again, there's 3 months that I do the exact same thing, and it's really hard. But that you can maybe rearrange your day on Tuesdays too, and put what you do at the beginning of the meetings, like prior to those meetings earlier in the day, so that you can come in, because your meeting doesn't start till 7 and ours starts at 5. I think that, like I said, while I know it's hard, we're all committed to this in the 4 years that we have signed on for this. So I don't know, was there a motion in there? Did you make that motion? And is there a seconder? Is there anybody else that would like to speak to it, or just want to see where we are on it? Or Councillor Weed?
Through the mayor. I think we're making this a bigger problem than it needs to be. Whether we change it to a Monday or a Wednesday and keep it at 5 o'clock. And once we get into that routine, it'll be like we always did it on Monday, or we always did it on Wednesday. He is an elected official. He was put in the seat for a reason. He had to take the job to support his family. And I would like to think that if something happened to our mayor or one of the other councillors, that we would try to accommodate it. Instead of just saying, well, I don't want to do Monday because I might have company on the weekend, or I have a busy family, or, you know, I think we need to be reasonable here. That's how I feel. I can make any night of the week work. I might have to juggle some things or throw some things in the air. My husband will have to make pasta on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. But I just think that we need to be a little more understanding of the situation, because I think that we would like that respect if the role was reversed. You know, I know it's hard when we had them on the Monday because sometimes the agendas were late or whatever, and I get that. And yes, you had to cram it on Sunday night or whatever you had to do to make it work. But I just really feel like we should try to come up with a solution for this. And the Wednesdays don't seem to work for you for those 3 months. So I don't know, maybe make it a Monday at 5 o'clock, and that's just, I'd like to be respectful of the whole thing and not blow it right out of proportion. Like, we have to give as well as take, so like I say, I can make any day work, so I don't feel like, yeah.
All right, so any other further comments or questions? Okay, I believe Councillor DeBruin made a motion. Was that a motion, Councillor DeBruin, that you made?
I made a motion to amend.
Okay,
Amend the schedule.
amend the schedule to Mondays.
And sorry for clarity through the mayor, that's to amend the schedule to the Monday prior to the meeting date set out.
Correct.
Thank you.
Do you have a seconder? You're seconding? Okay. So is there any comments or questions to that? Okay, I will call the question. All in favor of, well, actually, of an amendment, of the amendment, right? So I'm calling the question, all in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Okay. So amendment does not carry. All right, so we're back to the original 2025 councillor meeting calendar. Any further questions or comments? Okay. I am going to call the question. Will somebody please move that the 2025 schedule of council meetings be adopted as presented? Councillor McNary. I'll second it.
Waiting for you to say second.
Any further comments or questions? All in favor? Motion carried. Opposed? Councillor DeBruin, you're opposed? And Councillor Booth. Okay, 19.2, 2025 acting mayor designation. I see that Councillor Reed is up first. And then Councillor McNary, Councillor Flan, and Councillor DeBruin. Any comments or questions on that? Yes.
Sorry, if I could through the mayor, in the past, historically, it's gone alphabetically by last name. The only reason for the change this year is I actually know ahead of time of some councillors that would have been away during, if it was the normal alphabetical, they would have been away. So just for variety, I just did it backwards. So it's alphabetically by last name in reverse.
Where is it?
It's very accommodating.
Lost it?
We've lost it.
Oh, you don't mean to.
Last page.
Well, Counselor McNary, you're April 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2025. Counselor Plan.
Through the mayor, I'm good with this, but do other things work better for other people? Just thought I'd throw that out there.
We don't know when people are gonna be away. When our mayor is going to be away.
And sorry, if I could, through the mayor, should it happen that the person that's designated as acting mayor also be away at the time, the remaining council members appoint somebody as acting mayor. So, you know, hopefully, it wouldn't happen, but there is provisions in the community charter and our procedure bylaw for if both the mayor and the acting mayor were away.
Okay, I'll call the question. Will somebody please move that the 2025 acting mayor designations be adopted as presented? Counselor Plan, Counselor McNary, any further comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Opposed? None, so motion carries. Okay, and we'll go to 19.3 correspondence, Village of Nakusp, Counselor De Bruin.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to, while I try to find it again. So this is a letter that the Village of Nakusp has sent to the Minister of Health, calling upon the Minister of Health.
Counselor De Bruin, we're just
To,
having audio. We can't hear you very well.
Sorry, it's when you move in the room that you're in. Most of the time we have nice high volume. It's just occasionally you kind of cut out if you've turned your head or something.
Okay, yeah, your internet connection is very slow, so that's because your video is breaking up all the time as well. Anyway,
That's perfect.
but
right
this
there.
is a letter. Okay, so this is a letter to the Minister of Health from the Village of Nakusp, petitioning the minister to invoke the province alert ready system in case of ER closures. And this is a discussion that we've had with council as well, where we feel that Interior Health is offloading their responsibilities to inform our citizens about ER closures, and that means that we have to put out void alerts or Facebook posts and that sort of stuff. So this is just a letter that the Village of Nakusp has written to the Minister of Health, and I would like to make a motion that we direct staff to write a similar letter to the provincial government requesting that they include the provincial health services in their Alert Ready program to communicate with the public and advise of emergency room closures.
Okay. Questions, comments? Counselor Klein.
Through the mayor, I think that this is important. The only thing is that, like, looking into the BC Alert Ready program, I think that is a tad overkill for an emergency, like for an ER closure. Most of the towns and everything around here, they use either Voyant Alert or Alertable, which personally, I think they are a public mass notification alert program, which I think those platforms are a better way to do for ER closures. Yes, the ER closures are very important and they can be life-threatening, but the screech of the BC Ready Alert is like that's more for like, natural disasters and biological, like Amber Alerts and that. And I just think that the BC Alert Ready program is just a tad overkill, where Voyant Alert or Alertable would be a better and an easier system that the health authorities could use themselves, be able to send out those alerts, and also they would be paying for them. So I'm not sure there. It is something we should follow, but I just think the Ready Alert program is just a bit overkill.
Councilor McNary.
I somewhat agree with Ralph. I think it would wake a lot of people up that the route sheet is closed, because I do believe a lot of people do not realize it's closed. And I think it should go over the phone. Maybe people will wake up and help us out trying to get this thing on the go. Because whatever we're doing is failing. We have to do something. Whether it's really aggressive or not, I'm not sure, but I'm totally with Ralph on this one. It should go over the phone every time.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I just think that the BC Ready Alert is a bit overkill, while the other ones, they are still mass notification platforms as well.
I don't think anything's overkill at this stage in the game, personally.
Councilor DeBruin.
Yeah, I'm ambivalent which system is being used. I have no preference. It is my understanding that the province uses the province alert system. That's the system that they have. I don't believe that they have that they use the Voyant Alert. So that's why I think the Village of Nakusp has said, okay, we'll use the system that you have. I think the Voyant Alert system is a very good system, and if they had that, I'd be in favor of that. I think the point is that they need to do the job that they're accountable for. They need to inform the public of emergency closures. They cannot push that back onto municipalities and late night work that needs to be done, staff that needs to go back into the office in order to make those alerts ready and that sort of stuff. They need to take their own responsibility. And which system they use, I'll leave it up to them. But I think the appeal is that they use that they communicate with our residents.
Councilor Weed.
Through the mayor, I'm not up on all these alert systems. I downloaded the Voyant, so I would get stuff. Now, is this another system that the public would have to download onto their phone? Like, do they, or it just automatically goes, okay. Well, I'm in favor of it then.
Through the mayor, if I could propose maybe just in the letter where it says province's alert ready program or an alternative.
That's fine.
I
Okay, so Councilor DeBruin made a motion. I need somebody to second it. Councilor Weed will second it. Any further questions or comments on it? And this is just as an overview to send a letter of support to Minister Josie Osborne, stating that we use this Ready Alert or some other form. Right. Okay. Is that good? All right. Anything further? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 20.1. The meeting is open to questions from the media.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 2 hours and 30 minutes in, and there's lots of news for this week, that's for sure. If I could direct a couple of questions through you to Councilor DeBruin, may I?
Yes, please.
Yes. Councilor DeBruin, I just wanted to get some clarification on a couple of items of your predicament you find yourself in. And I do sympathize. I was in a similar one when I was on council many years ago, so I do understand. How many days, first of all, when did you start working for Little Black Nation? When did that begin?
And my first day at my new employment was October 21st.
Okay, and is it basically 5 days a week that you were down there?
Yes, yeah, I have full-time employment.
Full-time employment. Given the challenges tonight in trying to find a date that's acceptable to everybody, and I think perhaps Councillor McNary touched on it a bit when he discussed options. And at this point, if you decline to comment on my question, I understand, but at this point, have you considered whether this might at some point force you to resign from council?
Thus far, I have not considered that. Like I said, I was elected 2 years ago to serve the community. I received the largest percentage of votes of all councillors. I think we together as a collective had some strong ideas about what we wanted to see change in our town. And I feel that, due to circumstances, we haven't really gotten anywhere substantive. You can see, the strategic plan that we started, that we made a month into our term. It's still incomplete. There's still a lot of things that I even haven't been started. So I feel very strongly about the duty that I have. I understand that it is a big ask, but at the same time, it is a very small town, and ultimately, I think if we want to encourage people to join this council, we need to be open, to be flexible. I mean, these days, flexibility in the labor force is extremely important to attract talent. And if we say it's the first and third Tuesday and that's it, it pains me, and I fear, the consequences moving forward for people stepping up to serve in this role. And now faced with the fact that, I'm going to be able to join one meeting, or I can join a bunch of other meetings where for the first hour or a little bit, where, I have to sort of run from one to the other, feeling inadequate, moving into my primary occupation, feeling that I may be unprepared to do the job that I was hired for. It's just a risk. It's a risk that I'm being put in these circumstances. So yeah, I'll have to reflect on this. I don't know how to move forward in this at this point, and I just don't.
Well, thank you for your answers. I do appreciate them, and I do understand the difficulties that you're in. Switching to some other items, Madam Mayor. One of that is not on the agenda, but that I am curious about is you have a committee of the whole meeting with Tony Luck on Friday, is that correct?
On next Monday.
Oh, okay, I have my dates wrong, but it is coming up then.
Yes.
Is that,
16th.
pardon me?
On the 16th.
Okay, I had it in my mind.
At noon.
I had the date wrong at the time, right? Anyways, is that basically a getting to know you kind of a session, or are you planning, for example, to raise issues such as the recent discussion on the alert that perhaps an MLA would be able to help you with? What are your expectations of the committee of the whole?
Mine are, we have 1 hour, and it would be a definite meet and greet, and I want to hear what he's got to say, and then I'm hoping that we can share our information of what we need, where we're going, and I mean, an hour is not long, so 55 minutes of discussing and 5 minutes to figure out when the next one is. That's mine. Mr. McCullough, you wanna?
Yeah, thank you through the mayor. It was Tony Luck's receptionist, and we had they reached out to us to say, let's do a meet and greet. And I think all the stuff that we want to discuss is probably already on It is on the cards for him. He knows exactly what we're going through. Health will be up there with it for sure, and then rural roads and everything else that we kind of come to expect from where Jackie Taggart was. So we very much want to kind of get around the table with him and start finding out what he can do, and so he understands the strength of what we expect from him as well. So.
Okay, those are my questions for tonight. Thank you. If I can say a couple other additional things, I wanted to wish council and staff a Merry Christmas. And I also wanted to say thank you very much to your staff. They have made my job so much easier because they've been so helpful in clarifying things, in tracking down information for me. And I really appreciate the cooperation from, whether it's at the district office or at the rec center or wherever. It's much appreciated. So thank you all very much for that.
Thank you. No? Okay. Then, will somebody please move that the December, 10th, this one take forward. December 10th, 2024, regular council meeting be adjourned. Councilor McNary, Councilor Reeve, Merry Christmas, everybody, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you.
So